question from the 2024 Practice Bundle 6 Math Module 1. Not a lot to read here. Which expression is equivalent to the quantity x squared plus 11 all squared plus the quantity x minus 5 times x plus 5? So this question would be, I would consider like a medium type question because it's not very difficult, but you need to understand the concept of foiling and be very meticulous when you expand these terms. So first, let's kind of go over real quick what I mean by foiling, right? So foiling is a way to expand any binomial term, right? So say you have the expression a plus b, and then you times it by a plus b just by itself, right? So these are what you call binomial terms, right? Binomial means nothing more than they are just two numbers or two variables added or subtracted with each other in some like parentheses, right? So that would be a binomial term. If you had like say a plus b plus c, that would be a trinomial, right? And then you can have like more and more, but most of the time in SAT you will deal just with not these ones, binomials, right? When they have two terms in the parentheses. So how would you use the FOIL method to expand this expression, right? A plus b times a plus b. Well, FOIL, the F stands for first, right? So we will multiply the first terms in these these binomials, right? So we multiply a times a, right? So that's the first one. We do a squared. Then we do the outer terms, right? The outer terms mean nothing more the ones that are at the end of the entire expression, right? So we have this a at the end and this b at the end. You would multiply those two together and you would get a plus a b, right? Then after outer, we do the inner terms, right? Inner means the two terms that touch each other, right, between the two binomials. So you can imagine these two are the inner terms. So that is b times a, but you can write b times a as a times b again. And then you do the last terms. You do the last terms in each binomial, right? So this is the last term of the first binomial. This is the last term of the second binomial. And then we multiply them together. And that gives us b squared, right? And then you would just further kind of like simplify that. You would add these ABs together to get a 2AB, and then you would just be left with b squared, right? So this trick, it's not really a trick, it's just like kind of like a method to expand these in like a nice organized way and not get like, lost in the sauce, if you will, when you have like really big polynomial expressions. This will really help you kind of stay organized when you have to expand binomial terms or multiply them together, like we have to do here. I guess we have to do both here anyways, right? So let's apply this foiling method to try and solve this expression, right? Oh, let me get rid of some of I was solving this a little bit earlier, so let me clear up the screen and we will begin now. So first things first, always just write out the expression. I like to just write it out just to stay organized, and that way you don't accidentally skip any steps or miss something. It's very easy to, especially with these kind of longer problems, it's very important to stay organized. So first things first is always just rewrite the equation in a nice open spot on your piece of paper. Now let's start by expanding it, right? So let's make this, the way we expand these binomial term is, we know this is a squared, right? So that means we just kind of have to write it multiplied by itself, right? So because a squared would be a times a, so similarly this term would just be x squared plus 11 times x squared plus 11, right? Because we're just squaring it. And then we have again here x minus 5 and then x plus 5, okay? Next, we will start with this binomials. We will FOIL these, right? So let's do the first terms, right? So x squared times x squared, that's going to be x to the fourth power. And I'm going to write it all in the parentheses. Then we will have the outer terms, right? So we would do then x squared times 11. That's going to be 11x squared. And then we would do the inner terms. So that is 11 times x squared. We will do 11x x squared over here. And then finally the last terms, which should be 11 times 11, which would be 121. And I'm just going to move the screen over just a little bit so it's easier to see. Okay. And now we are going to do the other side, or the other binomial terms that we have, right? So we'll do the exact same thing here. We will put them all in a big parentheses and FOIL, right? So first, x times x is going to be x squared. Outer, x times plus 5, that's going to be 5x. The inner terms, minus 5 times x, that's going to be minus 5x. And then the last terms, minus 5 times 5, that's going to be minus 25. Now let's simplify these two parentheses a little bit more by combining like terms. So we have only one x to the fourth power in this entire parentheses, so we can't combine it with anything. We have two x squared terms, we can combine them, so that's going to give us a 22x squared, and then we don't have any constants, so we just will have 121 by itself. Similarly, let's combine terms over here. So we have a x squared by itself. We're just going to keep that. The plus 5x and minus 5x, that cancels out. So then we're left with just the minus 25, right? And now we can combine all like terms across the entire expression. So again, like before, we don't have any x to the fourth power terms. So we'll leave that by itself. We do have an x squared term, so we can add x squared to 22x squared, which is going to be plus 23x squared. And then lastly, we will have these constant expressions that we can add. We can add 121 plus minus 25. That's the same thing as 121 minus 25, which would be, I think, 96. So there you have it. That is how we solve this problem. And is there an answer choice like that? Yep, right here, B. So that's it for this problem. The main thing to know, and the main concept you really needed to know, was foiling, right? How to expand binomial terms, and you do that by first multiplying the first term by the first term, the outer terms by each other, then the inner terms, and then finally the last terms in both binomial expressions. Once you understood this foiling method, then you just have to be very meticulous, write it all out, be organized, and then just FOIL and combine like terms to simplify. So don't be discouraged if this seems like a lot of stuff to remember. The more you practice it, the more you practice this foiling method, it will be like second nature to you, and you will see problems like this and think it's like easy as cake. So let me know in the comments below if there's anything I could do to improve these videos. Check out Khan Academy. They have a lot of great resources for SAT and ACT, as well as other subjects, in case you just like to learn. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.